So if we could move on to our third and final speaker, Denise Delaney. Mary, would you like to introduce Denise?
I'd be delighted. I'd be absolutely delighted and honoured to introduce Denise, because Denise started her undergraduate training in what was St. Patrick's in Thurles, which is now MIC Thurles campus, in 2012. And that's where I met her, and that's where she developed her passion for teaching and for action research. And she was awarded the Excellence in Teaching award for obtaining first-class honours in all school placements throughout her teacher training. And anybody here involved in teacher training knows that's not an easy thing to achieve. Denise is now an assistant head teacher. I'm reading, Denise, from your bio here. And now an assistant head teacher at a Catholic secondary school in South London. She's on the third year of her professional doctorate in education in St. Mary's in Twickenham. And she was awarded her MA in Principles and School Leadership Principles and Practice from St. Mary's. Her focus now is, her current role has both a teaching and a pastoral focus, and she's leading a faculty and supporting students as head of house. She's also the induction tutor at her school and is managing the early career teachers. So those newbies at the start of their career have very safe pair of hands in Denise. And that role and that the challenges around that are providing the focus for her Ed.D topic. So I really look forward to hearing what Denise has to say, and I'm so thrilled and proud. And on a personal note, Denise has just got engaged as well. So she's at a really exciting time in her life.
Thanks, Mary. I'll share my screen. Yeah, brilliant. Thank you very much, Mary. So Mary's introduced me quite well, so I'll kind of skip over the introduction part as such, but I am in my third year of an Ed.D. Finally. So the first 2 years were structured, and now I'm into the part where I'm, conducting and exploring my own research and focusing on my role, lots of different roles, but focusing on how I can improve the role of being an induction tutor. I loved Mags's presentation, and I actually remember Mags presenting when she was in the flows of her PhD, and I just thought, you know what, this is such a good platform for me to maybe do the same. So today I'm just going to kind of present my journey so far as a doctoral researcher, share what I'm exploring and the context and next steps, so that when I come back the next time, I can kind of share more about the meat and bones of how I am intending on conducting my research. So in terms of exploring my values, I really value connection, respect, integrity, and care. And just for the purpose of today, I'm going to look at two mainly, and that's connection, which will also lead on to my ontological and epistemological values about knowledge. But if I'm being really honest, I have found the transition from phase 1 of the Ed.D into phase 2 challenging, in terms of time, trying to balance a working full time and researching, reading, writing. And I have to say my supervisors are fantastic, but I felt I value connection, but was I actually being a bit of a living contradiction? Because the last time I presented at NEARIMeet was 3 years ago after I'd finished my master's, and I'd never intended it to be so long before I presented again. And while over the summer, my sister's a primary school teacher, and she was doing some CPD, and she sent me the picture of a book, and she circled Mary's name around it, and she said, "Do you know Mary Roach?" And I said, yeah, I do quite well. Luckily I know Mary Roach. And she was talking about the critical thinking picture book, and I just said, you know what, this is a sign for me. I've been feeling kind of isolated. I value connection. So then I was like, it's time for me to drop Mary a message and commit to presenting and sharing a little bit more about myself. Um, and then in terms of care, I was thinking about this a lot last night, and I actually had not included care during the week. And I kind of questioned myself, and I said, well, like, why haven't I included this? And I was reading through my journal, and in my undergraduate degree, I would have, written a lot about noddings and care, and definitely as a teacher, I care about my students, but I never thought about care in terms of caring about the student teachers and early career teachers. And I was thinking last night, and I came across a piece in my lovely journal, um, and it was when one Monday morning last year, one of our trainee teachers didn't come to work, and sadly, we discovered that they had passed away. And I was just reading my journal and like my thoughts and feelings about, goodness, I had to phone the university and inform them. And then alongside the head teacher of my school, sitting down and telling that person's colleagues in terms of the other early career and trainee teachers that one of their colleagues had passed away. That was something in terms of my career that to date has definitely been the most challenging thing I've had to deal with, but has also significantly shaped how I support early career teachers and trainee teachers, and just in general think of others. So I've included it because actually it's so important to me, especially in a profession where there's so many different I suppose, grasps on your time and focus points, but actually it's just important that we care and look after each other. And then I thought last night, Maxine Green's wide awakeness, and I think up to this point I've been so caught up in the throes of, just passing the first phase of the EdD, transitioning into the second phase. I kind of did lose sight of my values a little bit. So that's why I'm here, engaging in critical reflection and trying to re-engage with a community who I know are always welcoming, always supportive, and always provide, appropriate challenge and thought-provoking discussions. So something that I've been working on quite recently is, am I a social constructivist or a social constructionist? And originally, I had said I am a social constructivist. And if it's okay, I'm going to read a little piece from my research reflective journal about this and how this kind of thought came to mind. So on the 2nd of November 2022, I was excited and relieved, very relieved, that I had progressed into phase 2 of the EdDoc. The meeting was both an introduction to phase 2 and my first formal meeting with my supervisors. I found the meeting quite supportive, but also challenging. Am I good enough to do this? My methodological positioning was questioned, and I was encouraged to explore the difference between being a social constructionist and a social constructivist. I thought I was clear. I've always identified myself as a constructivist, as a teacher. I think that knowledge is created. Although I feel my thinking feels challenged and I feel a bit lost, about my ontological and epistemological values, I am going to make note of this and explore literature further. And that's what I did. And in terms of exploring literature further, I explored, and I have some key theorists there on the right, but I explored literature because actually I didn't understand the difference between those two words, and I didn't challenge my taken for granted assumption about what I think I am and my values, and actually I saw those words spelled differently in books, but I never had the confidence to think, oh, why are they different? What does that mean for me? And I thank my supervisors for that, for challenging my thinking, because I think my ontological and epistemological views of knowledge align with social constructionism rather than social constructivism, because social constructionism recognizes that people are capable of change as they interact with others in socially constructed context. I am a social constructionist because I believe that knowledge is created through interactions and experiences, but also co-created through interactions with a social community. And when I now introduce what my intended research is supposed to be, it now makes sense to me, because I am not just valuing what I think, I also value the social groups around me and how my interactions with ECTs, so early careers teachers, other induction tutors, actually form what I think and influence my thinking. So in terms of my area of research, I am focusing on my role as an induction tutor. And in 2021, the DFE introduced a new policy in terms of ECT induction. So now, instead of it being 1 year, it's now a 2-year program with very clear guidelines on mentoring, reduced timetable, etc. But in the document it says that the role of the induction tutor is to provide regular monitoring, support, and coordination of assessment. Now, I challenge that because I think the role encompasses a lot more. And drawing on Korsgaard, I think by improving my own practice, I can offer exemplarity to other induction tutors. So not saying this is what you have to do to be a good induction tutor, but actually, because there's very limited research out there on the role of induction tutor, I think the last published piece I could find was from 2014. I think it's important for us as a community of practice to offer exemplarity to each other. And I think that's what will be my new addition to knowledge. And I think this piece of work can influence policy and practice. So in terms of developing my role as an induction tutor, it was really important for me to explore key policies. And some of them are the recruitment and retention strategy in for the Department for Education in the UK. And significantly this year, 23% of teachers leave the profession within their first 3 years, and 31% leave within the first 5 years. The early career framework and the induction for early career teachers. And this is the policy that my role is mainly working around. One thing that I would challenge, because now I have the confidence to challenge, is it says the content of the early career framework builds on and implements initial teacher training. I've conducted some semi-structured interviews with ECTs as a trial, and a lot of what they are learning as ECTs with their online program that has been set up in terms of the framework and induction repeats a lot of what they do during ITT. And that's something that I'm exploring within my own professional context as to how can we make online learning that ECTs receive, or group learning that they receive with teaching hubs, relevant to our own professional setting to meet the needs of our students within our context.